October, 1946. Nuremberg Prison is quiet, but not peaceful. Behind thick stone walls and steel-barred doors, the men who once bent Europe to there will now wait in numbered cells. No flags. No salutes. No crowds chanting their names. Only the slow scrape of boots in the corridor, the constant click of keys, and the heavy awareness that time has run out. These are not ordinary prisoners. They are the architects of World War II. The planners of mass death. The men whose signatures sent millions to camps, graves, and ash. By day, Allied guards watch them with unblinking vigilance. By night, the lights never fully go out. Suicide watchers rotate endlessly. Mirrors are angled to catch every movement. Even sleep is monitored, because the world will not allow these men to escape justice quietly. Inside the cells, power evaporates. Former Reich ministers sit on narrow beds, tracing cracks in the walls. Generals who commanded entire fronts now ask guards for blankets. Diplomats who once spoke for empires rehearse their final words in silence. Some pray. Some deny everything. Some still believe history will forgive them. Outside these walls, the world waits for closure. Newspapers speculate. Survivors listen for news. Nations hold their breath. Because what happens here is more than punishment, it is a test. A test of whether law can answer atrocity. Whether justice can speak after genocide. Whether men who believed themselves untouchable can be made accountable at last. But inside Nuremberg Prison, something else is unfolding. Something no one fully anticipates. Because one of these men will never reach the gallows. And when dawn comes, the prison will awaken to a shock that changes everything. Before the steel bars. Before the trial. Before the executioner's rope, there were lives, ordinary beginnings twisted into extraordinary cruelty. Hermann Göring was born to privilege, the son of a German aristocrat, steeped in ambition and charm. A decorated fighter pilot in the First World War, he returned home intoxicated by glory and convinced of his destiny. The rise of Hitler gave him wings, not just in the Luftwaffe, but in power. He mastered the theater of authority, surrounding himself with luxury, medals, and sycophants, until the world knew him as the face of the Third Reich's arrogance and excess. And yet, behind his swagger, paranoia festered, a trait that would define his final days behind bars. Joachim von Ribbentrop came from a different world, one of commerce and diplomacy. Ambitious, smooth-tongued, and politically hungry, he learned the language of power before learning humility. He climbed the ranks, manipulating treaties and alliances, until he became Hitler's foreign minister, the man who engineered pacts that led directly to war. His obsession with prestige blinded him to morality, cementing a legacy built on betrayal and destruction. The military men, Wilhelm Keitel and Alfred Jodl, were products of obedience and order. Born into disciplined households, trained in rigid academies, they believed that following commands was the highest virtue. Orders to kill, to deport, to exterminate, commands they signed with bureaucratic precision, were never questioned. Duty over conscience became their creed, and by the end, they were architects of unimaginable suffering. Now, in Nuremberg Prison, the past weighs heavier than walls. The uniforms, the ranks, the authority, all stripped away. Only the man remains. And within each cell, the seeds of ideology, arrogance, and ambition germinate into fear, regret, or defiance. These men were once untouchable. Once revered, even feared. Now, the story of their rise foreshadows the horror that will define their fall. The walls of Nuremberg Prison hold more than stone and steel. They echo the weight of unspeakable acts. Outside, the world remembers history in dates, treaties, and headlines. Inside, it lives in memory, whispered in the minds of prisoners who once orchestrated death with chilling precision. Hermann Göring, once a pilot soaring above battlefields, now recalls the campaigns that turned entire nations into rubble. He remembers the camps, the systematic elimination of those deemed unworthy, and the meticulous logistics that made genocide industrial. Every signature on a deportation order, every calculated directive, once a mark of power, now haunts him in quiet cell hours. Joachim von Ribbentrop, the diplomat of illusion, replays alliances forged in greed and manipulation. He recalls the treaties that pulled Europe into war, the deals that sent soldiers and civilians alike to their deaths. Once, he was the architect of policy and negotiation. Now, he is a man stripped of influence, forced to reckon with the human cost of his ambitions. Generals Wilhelm Keitel and Alfred Jodl sit in silence, haunted by the mechanized efficiency of mass murder. Orders that once represented obedience now read as moral horror. Each plan executed, each campaign led, each signature signed, atrocities that can no longer be hidden behind duty. The prison itself becomes a mirror of their deeds. Narrow corridors echo their footsteps, dim lights cast shadows like the specters of the millions they condemned. Guards watch for signs of rebellion, despair, or suicide, knowing the prisoners' minds are as volatile as their past actions. Even here, the tension is palpable. Fear, arrogance, regret, they swirl together in the still air of confinement. Every moment reminds them that the world has shifted, and the consequences of their cruelty are no longer distant. And yet, despite the inevitability of justice, each man holds on to illusion, denial, or defiance, unaware that the next chapter will bring their ultimate reckoning. By mid-October, the air inside Nuremberg prison is thick with anticipation and dread. The condemned men know the sentence that awaits them, death. Every footstep in the corridor echoes like a countdown. Every clink of keys against iron bars is a reminder that time has run out. There is no escape, no negotiation, no mercy. Only the long, inevitable march toward the gallows. Hermann Göring, once the embodiment of arrogance and control, sits in his cell, a prisoner of both the Allies and his own mind. For weeks he has paced, spoken to no one, and calculated his options. And then, in a moment that would shock the world, he acts. Cyanide, hidden for months, becomes his instrument of defiance. Calmly, silently, Göring ends his life before the hangman can reach him. The guards find his body, and a stunned silence spreads. The unthinkable has happened. One of the most infamous Nazis has cheated justice itself. The remaining prisoners are rattled. Joachim von Ribbentrop tries to maintain composure, but the fear is visible in his eyes. Wilhelm Keitel and Alfred Jodl, rigid soldiers to the end, understand that the hour of reckoning has arrived. There is no escape from history now. Outside the cells, the guards tighten their patrols. Every corridor is checked, every cell inspected. The world watches with bated breath, aware that the final moments of these men are as much a psychological battleground as a physical one. And within these walls, moral horror reaches its zenith. These were men who oversaw industrialized murder, yet they faced death stripped of power, pride, and followers. The contrast between their past omnipotence and present impotence is jarring, a reminder that justice, when patient and deliberate, eventually arrives. As the night stretches on, the prisoners wait. Shadows lengthen. The gallows await. And one by one, history will close in, exacting a judgment no ideology can escape. Dawn breaks over Nuremberg, pale and cold, illuminating a prison that holds the world's most notorious men. The courtyard is silent, yet every heartbeat inside the cells pounds with anticipation. Today, justice will be exacted, and history will witness the final reckoning of those who orchestrated unspeakable atrocities. The prisoners are brought out one by one, their footsteps echoing on the stone floors like the ticking of a clock counting down their final hours. Joachim von Ribbentrop, once a diplomat who manipulated kings and nations, walks with hands trembling. Wilhelm Keitel and Alfred Jodl, trained for battlefields and commands, now face a conflict far more terrifying, an execution for which no military strategy can prepare them. The gallows loom, stark against the morning sky. The trapdoors stand ready, the ropes coiled, the executioners calm but vigilant. For these men, there will be no final speech to charm the world, no final defiance that history cannot crush. The weight of their deeds, the millions lost to their orders, presses down heavier than the ropes around their necks. One by one, they ascend the scaffold. Sobering silence follows each step. No words, only the mechanical inevitability of justice. The trapdoors swing, and bodies fall. Göring's absence is a ghost in the moment, a stark reminder that even the most infamous may cheat the final act, but not escape its shadow. Outside the prison, history watches. Survivors, nations, and the world collectively exhale. The architects of war and genocide face the consequences they spent a lifetime denying. Judgment is delivered not in rhetoric or negotiation, but in the stark, irrevocable reality of death. Nuremberg has fulfilled its promise. Accountability has arrived, measured and unflinching. The horror of the past meets the certainty of justice, and the shadow of these men's crimes will never again walk unchecked. The prison gates close behind the last condemned man. Silence fills the courtyard. The world has watched, and history has marked its judgment. But the story of Nuremberg is more than the deaths of its prisoners. It is a testament, a warning, and a reflection on the cost of power unrestrained by conscience. These were men who once commanded armies, manipulated nations, and orchestrated systematic murder. They believed themselves untouchable, above law, and shielded by ideology. Yet, in the end, even their authority, pride, and arrogance could not protect them from justice. The gallows were impartial. History demanded reckoning, and the law delivered. For humanity, Nuremberg serves as a reminder: cruelty, no matter how grand or organized, leaves traces that cannot be erased. Power without accountability becomes terror. Ideology without morality becomes atrocity. And silence in the face of evil is complicity. The echoes of these lessons linger far beyond the prison walls. If you care about history, justice, or truth, the story of Nuremberg is not merely a chapter in a textbook, it is a mirror. It challenges us to confront the past honestly and to ensure the mistakes of history are never repeated. This story, like the corridors of the prison itself, reminds us that evil may rise, but accountability, though slow, is inevitable. Justice, in its starkest form, will arrive. Like, subscribe, and click the bell for more World War II truths that history tried to bury. And in the next episode, you'll witness the story that almost never reached the public, the secret failures, hidden plans, and shocking escapes that haunted the aftermath of Nuremberg, revealing that even in victory, history's reckoning is never simple.